They liked the balance that they had in race.
Casey Kane, we congratulate him, his third career pole.
It's all three Hendrick Motorsports in the front.
There's a few movers and shakers out there.
Carl Edwards free falling for a couple. To victory lane is Joey Logano.
Get the inside line on who's fast and who's last before setting your NASCAR fantasy race team lineup this weekend. This is the Inside Line on MRN.com, presented by Hercules Tires. Now, here are your fantasy experts, Robbie Mays and Tyler Burnett.
A first-time winner in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series at the Michigan International Speedway, and I guess the lesson I learned was always go with your gut feeling, because I said I either want to go with Kyle Larson or Kevin Harvick, and of course I went with Kevin Harvick. You know, that's just my luck.
So you were wrong.
I was wrong. I never said I was not wrong. I'm saying I should have went with my gut feeling.
But the point of the matter is that you were wrong.
This is Robbie Mays. My name is Tyler Burnett, and we're here to talk fantasy racing as we do each and every week. It is Throwback Week presented by STP, and we are very excited about that. We're heading to Darlington Raceway, one of my favorite racetracks of all time. My first ever race in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, working at least, was, 2 years ago now, and it was at the Darlington Raceway. And STP Throwback Week all week long. All sorts of throwback content today. We have NASCAR Hall of Fame Executive Director Winston Kelley, who will join us, and he'll give us a little bit of love as far as what they're going to be doing. But STP Ultra Clean, Ultra Performance, Ultra Protection, STP Ultra 5-in-1 Fuel System Cleaner, their most advanced formula, STP in for the long haul.
I'm excited. This is my home track. I went to my first race at Darlington. It was back then it was the Busch Grand National Series. The spring of 1991, Dale Jarrett won. I went to my first Sprint Cup race at Darlington in the spring of 1996, won by Jeff Gordon. And this weekend is my 21st straight Bojangles Southern 500. So I am 21 in a row.
And if you go to the racetrack, you'll hear Robbie Mays on the PA.
Yes, you will.
That's going to be great.
The very, very dulcet tones of Robbie Mays Hayes.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome.
It's going to be fun.
My first was actually Kevin Harvick winning with the last lap pass on Dale Earnhardt Jr. That was, 2014?
I don't think it was a last lap
2013.
pass. It was 2014. Kevin
No, there was a late
won.
restart.
Yeah, it was a late restart, yeah.
And then Chase Elliott won the Xfinity race that day.
That's
his
correct.
First start ever
Yeah.
at Darlington.
Yeah.
So that's kind of fun.
10 different winners in the last 10 Sprint Cup Series races at Darlington Raceway.
Yes, that's impressive. So we'll see if Kyle Larson can continue his win at Michigan and try to move it in to Darlington. Winston Kelley will join us here in a couple minutes, but after the break, we're going to first talk about our fantasy teams. You're watching the Inside Line Fantasy Racing Show presented by Hercules Tires.
Got a question or opinion about your fantasy lineup? Give us a call at 8444-ASK-MRN, and it may get used on next week's show. The Inside Line will return in a moment.
The Toyota racing team was born out of true American tradition. We've racked up 332 NASCAR wins. That's a whole lot of victory laps. Just last year, Toyota racing driver Kyle Busch took home the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series championship. We even have Toyota drivers racing Tundras in the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series. But winning isn't our only tradition. Toyota has been in North America for almost 60 years. We have 10 Toyota assembly plants scattered throughout the United States. Those plants produce 9 of our models right here, including the Camry, Tacoma, and Tundra. In 2014, a total of 1.3 million Toyota vehicles were assembled here in America. That's a lot of cars. The production of all those vehicles has created thousands of American jobs. That's a lot of opportunities. Opportunities that we'd like to keep going for years to come. So let's go, America. Let's go, NASCAR. Let's go places. Head on over to toyotaracing.com to find more info on our drivers. NASCAR is a registered trademark of the National Association for Stock Car Auto Racing, Inc.
O'Reilly. It's O-Rewards Member Appreciation Month at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Improve visibility and save $6 instantly on a pair of Bosch Excel Plus wiper blades and earn double points. Ensure clear vision in any weather with Bosch Excel Plus wiper blades at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Limit supply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Welcome back to the Inside Line. Here are your hosts, Robbie Mays and Tyler Burnett.
Welcome back to the Inside Line Fantasy Racing Show presented by Hercules Tires. We're going to Darlington this weekend for the Bojangles Southern 500, but next week it is the last race before we set the field for the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. Next week we go to Richmond. Friday, September the 9th, it's the Virginia 529 College Savings 250. Next Saturday night, the Federated Auto Parts 400 for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. Go to RIR.com. That's RIR.com. to purchase your tickets for next weekend's, I guess, the final race for the Sprint Cup Series, the penultimate race to set the chase field for the Xfinity Series.
That one's going to be exciting. You know, there's, especially with Larson's win, and if you break it down now, Ryan Newman was pretty safe.
Yes.
And now he's not.
Yes.
He has to fight to get back in now because Larson has jumped him in the standings. He is now out. So Ryan Newman most likely will have to race his way in. Jamie McMurray might be another guy to race his way in. Casey Kane is pretty decent at Richmond. He's going to have to race his way in. So there's going to be a lot of guys who you're going to focus on that bubble spot at Richmond.
And everybody is still racing Chris Buescher. Chris Buescher is what he does the next two races. He's 7 points to the good right now.
7. Okay.
So depending on what he does at Darlington and Richmond next week, I mean that's another spot in the chase field.
And he told us in Watkins Glen after the Pocono win Kim Kuhn had actually it was Kyle Rickey who had a one-on-one with him. He said Darlington is his favorite racetrack.
Yeah.
Of all.
Yeah.
But I thought Bristol was probably going to be his best racetrack, but of course he had problems last week at Michigan, which did not help.
No.
Yes.
He did finish fifth at Bristol, though.
Let's talk fantasy, heading to Darlington Raceway. Robbie Mays, your number one pick going into this weekend for STP Throwback Week, and maybe say what his paint scheme is.
My number one pick for this weekend, driving a 1979 Kelley Yarborough number 11 Busch Oldsmobile, is Kevin Harvick. Top 5 finishes in the last 3 races at Darlington, including that win back in 2014. 345 laps led in his career at Darlington, but he's been up front 282 laps in the last 2 races here, so I really like that. This season, I've talked about his struggles, what I thought were struggles. He only has 3 finishes at 15th or worse this season, so I like Kevin Harvick as my number one pick for this weekend.
Yeah, we talked to Kevin last week and about this paint scheme, about Kelley Yarborough's paint scheme. First off, he said he wasn't really a Yarborough fan. It kind of fits with the Busch Light, sponsorship that he has. He was an Earnhardt guy, but he did say when he saw this scheme, he definitely wanted to run it, and he said we had to have gold wheels.
Yeah.
And I agree with that.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite paint schemes. You haven't seen it yet. By the way, all of the paint schemes for this weekend, MRN.com, up at the header, if you just click on the link to the Darlington page, it'll take you right there. You can see every paint scheme running this weekend.
Harvick is on my team as well. He was a good pick last week, and I think an even better pick this week. He will definitely be a contender on Sunday. I think you threw out all of his stats, 3 straight top 5s at Darlington. He won this race 2 years ago, so that's a no-brainer in my opinion. The next guy that I have is Kyle Busch. He's driving a Bobby Labonte throwback scheme, the Interstate Batteries, which I think is an awesome car. I think Dale Jarrett drove that car as well.
Yes,
right?
to the 1993 Daytona 500.
Yes, so Kyle Busch is definitely not a pretender this weekend. We did predict, and let's knock on wood because we actually made a correct decision last week, that Kyle Busch should not be on your fantasy team. So if you listen to us, good job. Because he continues to struggle at Michigan. But now we get back to his bread and butter, a worn-out racetrack. Get up on the wheel, outdrive anybody who's in front of you, and that's what kind of racetrack Kyle Busch likes. In the last 6 races, he's been pretty dang good at Darlington. He's got 5 top 10s in the last 6 races. 8 races ago, he won the Southern 500. Kyle's got a great shot to win this weekend at Darlington, in my opinion.
Yeah, and Darlington now, I guess we repaved it 2007, 2008, somewhere around in there. So it's been about 8 or 9 years. So this racetrack is getting old and worn out again. So tires are going to be more important. We saw that last year, some tire strategy come into play. That's kind of how Carl Edwards won the race last year. But I don't like Kyle Busch this weekend. I do like his teammate Denny Hamlin,
I like
though.
Denny, too.
Yeah. Denny Hamlin's driving a paint scheme based on Darrell Waltrip from the early 1980s. He has the best 10-race average finish at Darlington with a 6.5. He was 3rd last year. In 10 career starts, 8 top 10 finishes. And by the way, he's heating up right now this time of year. 6 straight top 10 finishes in 2016, including his win at Watkins Glen a few weeks ago. The only thing that cautions me about Denny Hamlin is he has 8 speeding penalties on pit
Yeah.
road this year, the more of anybody else in the Sprint Cup Series.
Yeah, definitely. I think Toyota's going to be pretty good this weekend. You can't count out Carl Edwards, who won this race last year in the Aris Toyota. So I think, besides, I don't know, Matt Kenseth is still probably going to be pretty good. But I think Toyota in general is going to be good this weekend. You agree?
I'm up or down about Toyota right now. Last week at Michigan, Chevrolets were I thought they were
completely different racetracks.
It's a completely different racetrack. I agree with you there, but I don't know. I mean, Toyota won this race last year. Chevrolets won this race in the past. It's been a long time since a Ford has won. I think if it comes down to it, a Chevrolet or Toyota will be battling for the win.
All right, Chevrolet. I'll throw my first one on the team right now, and that's Kyle Larson. His paint scheme is an old Eddie Cheever Jr. paint scheme, right? An old Target scheme from 1990 in the kart series?
The kart series 1990. You got that exactly right. Congratulations.
Wow. I read his paper, actually. Not just joking.
I spent hours working on notes this weekend for these paint schemes, and you cheat off my homework.
Kyle Larson has 2 top 10s in 2 starts at Darlington. This is his type of racetrack, and I've seen his start in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series until now. Any track that you're up against the wall, that's Kyle Larson's forte, if you will.
Yeah, I like the Kyle Larson pick. I've got him on my team this week, making his 100th Sprint Cup Series start this weekend too. So I think Kyle Larson is definitely a good choice for you this weekend. Top 10s in all 5 starts between the Cup Series and the Xfinity Series for Kyle Larson.
He almost won the Xfinity Series race last year. I remember.
Yes.
He was chasing down, I forget who it was.
Denny Hamlin.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah. Tony Stewart's back on my team this week, and despite 2 finishes of 20th or worse in the last 2 races, I'm going to hold on to him for another week. Never won at Darlington. His best finish was 3rd in 2009 and 2012. But I think this is my favorite paint scheme that we're seeing this weekend, the old Bobby Allison Coca-Cola paint scheme from the early 70s. So I like Tony Stewart. I like his paint scheme. Looking forward to see that on the racetrack this weekend. And Chris Buescher is also on my team again this weekend, making his first Sprint Cup start at Darlington. 4 Xfinity Series starts. 5th in the Xfinity Series a year ago.
Let's just hope Buescher does not have similar problems to like he did last week, because he needs to race his way in at this point. He's +7 right now to the cutoff line, going to his favorite racetrack, he says, so we'll see how that goes. I also have Tony Stewart. I also love his paint scheme, and I went down to the Hall of Fame, which we're going to talk to Winston in a second, but I went down to the Hall of Fame and watched the unveiling of that. This is one of a very few amount of racetracks that Tony Stewart has never won at, and I think he would love to do it. 2, right?
Here in Kentucky.
Here in Kentucky. All right. So Kentucky's a newer track.
Yeah.
Darlington's obviously not new, but yeah, Tony Stewart has never won. Also, Matt DiBenedetto, 25th last year. He's on my team just because that's who I can afford and who I like down there. So Matt DiBenedetto is on my team. So let's round it out. Matt DiBenedetto, Tony Stewart, Kyle Larson, Kevin Harvick, and Kyle Busch. That's my top 5.
And I've got Kevin Harvick, Denny Hamlin, Kyle Larson, Tony Stewart, and Chris Buescher.
Winston Kelley joins us next here on the Inside Line Fantasy Racing Show.
Tyler and Robbie will be right back to talk more fantasy racing here on the Inside Line.
O'Reilly.
It's O-Rewards Member Appreciation Month at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Stop in today and check out store-wide savings, plus earn double points on over 225 items. It's our way of saying thank you. If you're not already a member, sign up today during O-Rewards Member Appreciation Month. It's fast, easy, and free. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
From work life to nightlife, from home to the road, your day can take you anywhere. These fast-paced times call for Wrangler Advanced Comfort jeans. Advanced Comfort is designed to keep up with you, no matter where you go or what you're doing. They're made with 20% stronger denim and 4-way flex technology that moves with you. Wrangler Advanced Comfort. Go anywhere, look great, and be comfortable. Wrangler Advanced Comfort jeans. Try on a pair today.
When the smoke settles, the entertainment never stops.
I feel like experience kind of outweighs youth.
On race weekends, your favorite NASCAR personality is an everyday superhero.
Kyle Busch driving for his life right now.
But when they leave the racetrack, they're just like everyone else.
Our lives are so much different than what people may think they are.
I'm Susie Armstrong. Join me on a daily journey as we discuss the hot topics and engaging personalities of NASCAR Nation. Ned Jarrett's World of Racing, weekdays on the Motor Racing Network.
Let's talk more fantasy racing on The Inside Line. Here's Robbie and Tyler.
Welcome back to the Inside Line Fantasy Racing Show. Be sure, I know that we're, getting close to the chase, but join us on our NASCAR.com Fantasy Live League. It is starting to heat up atop the point standings. Rich Culbreth lost a little bit of points last week because he had Chris Buescher on his team, and we were talking about that earlier, but I think he's 5th right now out of 1,000, so that's not too bad.
Yeah.
Winston Kelley joins us on the line right now, and this is a great opportunity to bring him on this week because he, of course, is the executive director of the NASCAR Hall of Fame. And this week, Winston, I would assume, is probably one of your better weeks of the year, I'm guessing.
Yeah, one of the busier, but definitely one of the better weeks. We've got, at last count, I think we've got about 18 of the NASCAR Hall of Famers that are going to be down there at various times, the majority of them there for the drivers' meeting and driver introductions. Many of them are going to be there for a special Bojangles breakfast on Sunday morning for the parade that Darlington has done. And so many of them getting rightly honored on these incredible paint schemes. I haven't done the numbers to see. I've got a grid that I've started to see how many of the Hall of Famers are highlighted, but it's probably somewhere around 12 to 14, and then a couple of nominees that are identified there. So I am really excited about this weekend. Great racing, but these paint schemes, and I think we're going to see a tremendous amount of uniforms this year, whereas last year I think we had 3 or 4 teams. I think we're going to see a lot of teams in throwback uniforms as well.
Yeah, one of the other things I wanted to also ask you about is not only are we celebrating the history of the sport this weekend, but a lot of us have heavy hearts, especially at NASCAR and at ISC with Betty Jane France passing away this week. Did you have a relationship with her? I know you probably did, but what did she do for this sport?
Well, I think there's 2 different categories you put what she did. There's the NASCAR and ISC side, and then there's the philanthropic side. On the NASCAR side, she was very quietly but very importantly beside Bill France Jr. I think Brian's comments of how his dad would go to her for perspective or advice or just to talk about things, and she had a knack with both the NASCAR side and International Speedway Corporation side to provide that perspective. So I think folks should not underestimate the role that she played with NASCAR, the organization, and NASCAR, the industry. But I think her biggest legacy is the NASCAR Foundation and her philanthropic activities. She had a huge heart and a huge passion for helping those who are less fortunate, and especially children, going back to the Pediatrics Hospital wing there in Daytona Beach that has been there for so long, and being the founder and chairwoman and very actively involved in the NASCAR Foundation and the catalyst behind the Betty Jane France Humanitarian Award. So I think there's 2 different pieces to her legacy that are incredibly significant and will last forever.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, Winston, it's always great at the end of the year when we award the Betty Jane France Humanitarian Award. Back on the track at Darlington, it's a throwback paint scheme weekend. We're going to have a bunch of Hall of Famers there. This racetrack is getting back to the throwback, if you will, from several years ago. The track's getting worn out again. Tires are important. Talk about having to manage a race car for 500 miles at Darlington. It's not like doing that anywhere else that we go to.
Well, I think managing the race car, and they say racing the racetrack, but I think managing the tires is one incredible element. And I haven't looked yet to see whether we're going to have 10 or 11 sets, but I remember very vividly last year Carl Edwards stayed out. His crew chief left him out, didn't bring him down pit road, and I kind of joked with Alex Hayden on the two-way channel because I had Carl in one of my fantasy leagues when he stayed out and ended up losing a lap under green, and I said, go up there and punch Darian. Darian Grubb was his crew chief. Go up there and punch him in the mouth because he's cost me all these points, and we just laughed about it. Well, he had that extra set of tires when we got to the end of the race, and as folks will recall, he won the race. So I'm glad he didn't punch him because that call is very instrumental in what won him the race. So managing the tires and how many that you have, and I think a lot of the other teams were hopeful that if there were a lot of cautions, NASCAR would give them an extra set of tires. didn't happen, and Darian Grubb and Carl Edwards were able to go to victory lane.
I believe we found on the two-way last week. You also had Chris Busher on your team, too.
No, I didn't have Chris Busher. I had Alex Bowman.
Oh, Alex Bowman, yeah.
Wonder who we're going to jinx this week.
Wow. So as we head to Darlington, you mentioned how this track you have to have a lot of patience, and Alex Hayden and I were having a conversation yesterday with in our pre-call meeting as far as veterans racing at this racetrack and rookies. If you go back, Terry Labonte won his first race here. I believe Denny Hamlin won one of his first races here as well. But there are some rookies that can, for some reason, take a hold of this racetrack quickly, and Kyle Larson's been one of those as well, 2 straight top 10s. But can you see Ryan Blaney or Chase Elliott or Kyle Larson, someone like that, go 500 miles this weekend and win this race?
I can. And, Chase Elliott, when he won the race a couple of years ago in the Xfinity Series, just absolutely amazed me. I was just waiting for him to overdrive the car and have a wreck, and he restarted 6 toward the end and was able to slice his way through the field in just a few laps. So I think it's very realistic that any one of those 3 guys can win the race this weekend. But there's several other guys. You guys have already mentioned some of them. Kevin Harvick is one that I've got on my team, and I think many will. Denny Hamlin runs very well there, and just like you guys said, I think Tony Stewart at 17.25, or if you've got him locked in at a lower rate, is another just a great possibility for somebody to have on their team this weekend.
Winston, we talk about Tony Stewart having the great, June, July, early part of August, but then the last 2 weeks, problems at Bristol. They weren't running particularly well at Michigan last weekend. Going into the chase, he's locked in now, so they can look forward to the final 10 races of the season. What do you see for this team for the remainder of the year as far as, a fantasy perspective, and also are they a legitimate threat to win the championship in 2016?
I think under this format, pretty much anybody is a legitimate threat. And I think when you look at the tracks, and you guys touched on it, only 2 places that he hasn't won, Darlington and Kentucky, and you look at the incredible run that he had back in 2011 when he almost apologized for being in the chase and then reeled off 5 wins. Now, granted, it's a different format, but he can win in each one of the segments. And other than these past 2 weeks, if you look at how he's run, he's been very, very consistent. I think they did have problems at Daytona. That's kind of a throwaway race in terms of just looking at the consistency that somebody has. So I don't think you can rule anybody out. Would I put him in my top 5 of picks for the 16 that'll go into the chase? Probably not. But I wouldn't have in 2011, and you can see how wrong you'd be there. So that's one of the things that makes this championship format so exciting.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Harvick, Hamlin, Tony Stewart, I think you said those 3. How about the rest of your team, Winston?
I'm going to stick with Kyle Larson. Slick racetrack, likes to run around the top. You can't get around Darlington if you can't run around the top.
Right.
And then just from an affordability standpoint, because I wish I had Tony at a lower rate or somebody, but Matt DiBenedetto is probably going to be my 5th.
Who takes the 2nd annual Throwback Week race at Darlington this weekend? Who do you think wins?
Well, going without seeing practice right now, I'm going to have to go with Kevin Harvick. They've been, on a bit of a roll, and anything but a win. Rodney Childers had said, we had a ton of seconds last year. Anything but a win doesn't do anything for them. They've run well at this track, won here before. He likes slick racetrack. So going into the weekend, I like Kevin Harvick, but always with the option to make an adjustment on Sunday.
Winston, before we wrap things up, as far as a Hall of Fame perspective, if someone's watching this show, going to Darlington this weekend, what's one thing they have to do at Darlington?
I would say go by their museum as well. They've got a lot of old, cool stuff. And also just go throughout the facility. They've got a lot of appearances with the Hall of Famers, a lot of show cars down there. So those would be a couple of great things. And we've got a combination ticket package that they can get and either on their way in or on their way back from Darlington, come by the NASCAR Hall of Fame.
I thought you for sure were going to say Raceway Grill.
Well, you were talking about racing, but Raceway Grill is certainly up there. I would add that.
They do not take credit cards.
And
so.
get the hamburger steak with grilled onions on it. That's the ticket.
Winston, can't wait for this weekend, and I know you can't either, so it's going to be awesome.
Looking forward to it, guys.
Winston Kelley, everyone. Make sure you get down to the NASCAR Hall of Fame at some point. and enjoy this awesome Darlington weekend. It is, I know, it's like his baby. And it's Tony Sizemore's and Carrie Tharp's this weekend as well at Darlington, but Winston has had a huge impact on how this throwback week goes.
Winston, we're seeing these throwback paint schemes this weekend. Winston has seen most of these
alive,
which is more than you can say, definitely.
Definitely. You're right. I mean, what? You have to go to 92 is when I was born, so there's no throwback schemes before or after 92.
The 18 car.
That's it. That's the only one.
Yeah.
Well, what about the Mark Martin one?
The Mark Martin car, you're right.
The Trevor Bain car, yeah.
That's two.
Anyways, let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll finish things up. You're watching the Inside Line Fantasy Racing Show presented by Hercules Tires.
We'll be right back in just a moment to talk more fantasy racing with Tyler and Robbie here on the Inside Line.
Whatever you drive, wherever you go, Hercules Tires will get you there, whether you're running on dirt or running a job. Our dependable, high-quality tires are the perfect fit for your needs. For unmatched value, selection, and warranty with industry-leading road hazard protection, there's only one choice: Hercules Tires. To learn more, visit HerculesTire.com or call 800-677-9535. Hercules Tires, right on our strength.
Is it true that you built the first Harley in a barn? That's a myth. It was a shed, not a barn. A Discovery Channel original. This is it. This is our venture. A motorized bicycle. We gotta be different. We gotta be tough. You know the name. Harley Davidson. Now hear the legend. What you saw here was only the beginning. What's it like? Like an explosion between your legs. Based on the true story. It'll be too loud, too dangerous. Nobody's gonna want to buy that. People will want it, trust me. Harley and the Davidsons, a 3-night television event starting Monday at 9 on Discovery.
From work life to nightlife, from home to the road, your day can take you anywhere. These fast-paced times call for Wrangler Advanced Comfort jeans. Advanced Comfort is designed to keep up with you, no matter where you go or what you're doing. They're made with 20% stronger denim and 4-way flex technology that moves with you. Wrangler Advanced Comfort. Go anywhere, look great, and be comfortable. Wrangler Advanced Comfort jeans. Try on a pair today.
We now return to the Inside Line with Robbie Mays and Tyler Burnett.
Welcome back to the Inside Line Fantasy Racing Show presented by Hercules Tires. I'm Robbie Mays. He's Tyler Burnett, and it's time for our favorite part of the week.
Do you live your life up under a rock, or are you Tyler Burnett?
I love it.
I don't.
You're 4 and 5.
Because I got to make a pick.
You're 4 and 5. All right. It's a photograph this week. Name the actor. You shouldn't need time for this. You should know automatically.
I do know who it is. It's one of my favorite actors of all time.
Okay.
Gene Wilder. It's Willy Wonka, baby. I watched it like every day when I was younger.
Yes, that is, in fact, Gene Wilder. He passed away earlier this week at the age of 83. Young Frankenstein was that photo. Also in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, the producers, Blazing Saddles.
I actually, I never have seen Blazing Saddles.
You should. I'll loan you my
but
copy.
I have seen Willy Wonka a lot. In fact, I watched it the other night when I knew he passed.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Yes, that is one of my favorites.
Well, you're back to 500. Congratulations. You should be 1,000.
5 and 5, baby.
You should be batting 1,000 at this point. All right. Rango. The envelope. I opened it for you because you had so much trouble doing that last week.
Chase Elliott, Kevin Harvick, Denny Hamlin, Tony Stewart, and Chris Buescher. So the 24, the 4, the 11, the 14, and the 34. I kind of like it. None of us had Chase Elliott. He was good last week, finished second. I love the Hamlin pick. I love the Harvick pick. The only thing I'm a little concerned about is he does not have Kyle. Which,
I don't have Kyle.
I know you don't, and I think that's a mistake.
Okay. Wait, which Kyle?
Didn't you not have Harvick last week, too?
Kyle Busch or Kyle Larson?
Kyle Busch.
Oh.
He doesn't have Kyle Larson either.
No.
His winner is Kevin Harvick, and Chevrolet is his manufacturer. So that's going to be the segue into who is our winners this week. And are you shaking your head because you had Kevin Harvick as your winner too?
Yeah. My winner's Kevin Harvick.
But so now you're just going to copy Winston and the chicken?
Now I feel like I'm copying Winston and the chicken, although I had no idea before the show started today who they were going to have as their winners.
Yeah, okay.
But I had Kevin Harvick as my winner.
Well, my pick, I've talked about him a lot today, and no one seems to back me on this, but I think it's Kyle Busch. I think Kyle Busch wins. What is this? Well, he'll be his second Southern 500?
Yes, he won this race
6 years ago.
In 2008.
7 years ago. I can't do math.
No, you can't.
No, it's like 7 minutes ago. 7 years ago, I guess.
It's a long time ago.
Anyways, I think Toyota. I picked Toyota as my manufacturer too because I think Hamlin, Kyle Busch, or Carl Edwards, or Matt Kenseth for that matter, or Martin Truex Jr. I think all of them have a chance to win this weekend.
Sure.
In my opinion.
I think anybody has a chance to win this weekend.
Exactly. But I do like Kevin Harvick. What about Team Penske?
Yeah, we haven't talked about Team Penske much at all today. Brad Keselowski almost won this race a year ago.
Anyway, Sprint Cup Series practice coming up here at 1:30. Final practice at 3:30 this afternoon. Saturday, 1:30, Sprint Cup Series qualifying. And then, of course, Sunday, the Bojangles Southern 500. Going throwbacking, baby. 5 p.m. Eastern Time. For all of our friends, Winston Kelley joining us. Thank you very much, Winston. We'll see you this weekend at Darlington. He'll be on the PA. So just shake your head when you hear him. We'll talk to you next week here on the Inside Line.
You've been listening to the Inside Line, presented by Hercules Tires. Stream us every Friday on MotorRacingNetwork.com or on the MRN app. The Inside Line is also available on demand at the MRN.com Media Center, or download it through iTunes or Stitcher. The Inside Line is a production of the Motor Racing Network.